Well, good evening, folks. It's your host, Sergeant Friday from your Ass Hurts News Network. Just doing a few clicks over here. Hang on, got to turn the volume down over on YouTube so it doesn't feedback. And let me think. I got X open, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay. So we're just going to hang for a minute or so. I do got a message from somewhere. Publicly buzzed is not a message. So I wanted to just do a quick stream here. Let's see comments. Go back to comments. There we go. What's up, Lucky? With our couple of users will start to straggle in. I don't expect some big crazy blockbuster audience. But yeah, I thought we would do a stream that's not topic specific. A stream that that if you're definitely welcome to let me see, paste. You're welcome to click on that link and join me up here. I did send a link to my co-host, a little late, a little unexpected for him, but we'll see if he responds to the link. We'll see. But if he doesn't, it's only because I'll take the blame. I'll cover for poor Cletus. Sometimes them Southern boys need to be covered. It's just the way it is. I don't know why, but don't you worry, old Sarge will cover for him. And let's see, lucky Carl. Where's Carl? Carl will show up, he says. So what do we got here? We got 11 people. I bet you they're all from Twitter. There's 4 views from Twitter. There's a couple of views over here on Rumble, and the rest are here over on the YouTube. And the blue wrenches are at least starting to perk up. We got a couple of blue wrenches. We got Lucky and Joanne. She's at work again. She seems to be always at work. Always at work. I'm going to probably just address some of these news issues and put a different twist on them, rather than to try to keep up with everybody's opinion about the shooter of the CEO there, the healthcare executive. I don't want to get into right, wrong, and different or any of those motives. But it would seem to me, when it comes to such an act, that to get to that point where you're going to actually plan and go execute somebody you probably never met or ever had a conversation with, as far as what we know. But even if you have, I find it interesting in the sides people take, how so many people are cheering, and then everybody's out there screaming about how much healthcare costs and how inefficient the system is. Yet again, none of us use the internet as a group. We never use this as a group to make any effective change. We come out, we whine and cry, and we all come out with our theories, and we all come out with our ideas, and we all come out with our solutions. But it's like Kohlberger did it or didn't do it. It's insanity, man. I don't know, for those of you that listen along, what did I say? This was going to be a potato chip election. It was the election of potato chips. Bag of chips for 99 cents. That fucking bag is $2.49 where I live. It's probably $2.99 in other places. It's crazy. Why am I paying 2.5 times for a bag of potato chips that I normally enjoy with my lunch? Can't even afford it with my lunch anymore. And I said that's what was going to happen in this election. Go look at the vote. All the minorities and all the low-income people that actually voted and switched their vote from Democrat to Trump is why Trump won. I mean, he blew them out in Georgia. He beat Georgia 10, 12, 15 times more than Biden beat him by. He blew out the state of Florida. He won Florida in a way that's never happened. He collected 12% more of the fucking vote in New York. It's absolutely insane. There's Stacey Karma, $11.45 for a bag of Ruffles. Check that shit out. Yeah, and that's what I said. This was going to be a potato chip election. But let me get more to the point. Why did I say that? Why was I the only goofball making that analogy that it was going to be the disenfranchised and the poor that were going to bring this election home for Trump? And the reason I was able to see that was because those are the people's accounts that I started looking for. And I started looking to see what people were saying, whether they were black or Hispanic or white, even people that are gay. You start listening to what these other people are saying. And there was a common theme amongst all of this. It wasn't just that chips cost too much, which they probably never even considered in their repertoire when they were talking to us, but it was that everything costs too damn much. And they're bringing in millions and millions of people and giving them a $3,000 benefit card and a free place to live and free school and free health care to illegal immigrants. And the best thing Republicans did was ship these people to Chicago, ship these people to New York, ship these people to different states. That was the best thing the Republicans have ever done. And it was done because of a governor in Florida, DeSantis, and a governor in Texas, both Republicans, decided they were going to start busing these to the inner cities where these Democrats sit up there and they laugh because, you know, the problems with the immigration and the crime and the drug gangs is it affects their cities, but not in a direct way like it did this time. Now they were exposed. They visually could see how much it cost to live, and yet how much the government was handing over to those people. Imagine being a black person that's been screaming about reparations. And now imagine being a white person that argues against reparations. And let me ask both sides, what the fuck? What the fuck? The government gave it to people that don't even belong here. Whether you agree with reparations or not, that money is long gone now. I'd have rather they given it to the black Americans. Come on, tell the truth. Would you have rather that money went to help fellow citizens? I mean, you're talking about 15, 20 million people that were eating off, and they still are eating off our dime. And what? All right, you can't stand that either. But if you got to pick the better of the two fucking problems, I would have rather it went to the fucking minorities. American minorities, give them a fucking leg up. But no. Talk about free health care. Remember when that argument went around? Just look at the amount of trillions of dollars this government has wasted. I'd rather that be, if they were going to waste that kind of money, I'd rather be wasted on us. You mean to tell me there isn't enough currency in this country? There's enough taxes collected to give everybody a fucking health care? Of course there is. There always has been. And I know people are against that. But you're being against it. They just found another way to blow your money. They give how many billions to Syria? How many billions to Israel? How many billions to Iran? How many billions to Ukraine? How many? It's insane. Because none of us are thinking. None of us take the issue comes up in the moment, and then they bury you with a whole bunch of other issues. And these issues get lost because none of us are able to think. Why don't the likes match the numbers? Yeah, that's a good point there. Look at that. You got Carl be talking some mad shit to you people. You got blue wrenches. How come the likes don't match the amount of blue wrenches in here? Carl comes in here on his toes, man. He's ready to go. He's warmed up. He's done his fucking run. That's just some shit right there. See that? Carl putting his old brain to work. No, but my point is we spent the money that would have covered us. We all know that. The truth of the matter is, first of all, we all can agree government's too big. But I guess the reason I wanted to run this show tonight about the thinking is people really don't think. And what they mostly don't think about is that the same fucking apparatus that's used to confuse and cause chaos and problems is the exact same piece of apparatus that you could use to solve and prevent any of these issues from ever being a fucking problem. And that's the internet itself. That's social media. We have at our disposal the greatest tool in known or the greatest tool in the history of modern man. And that's the instant ability to communicate and gather in numbers. And we don't use it for anything good. It's like we're all a bunch of browbeaten fools. We're fucking, I don't even know. We just sit back and these fucking streamers bring in these fucking topics and we rush to their topics and none of the topics are about solving a problem. I mean, healthcare has been a problem for a long time. Where isn't there a big community of people that are talking about healthcare all the time and changes they want to insist upon? You couldn't. We had an illness come through the globe. We couldn't talk about that. We couldn't offer up anything. Or you would get banned if you didn't go with the prescribed fucking notion of what. But I'll tell you what, if 10, 20, 30, 40 million people were all barking about it, their algorithm would be overloaded and they would lose half of their fucking account. Yeah, I read that. Elon's going to upgrade the government computers and software. Yeah, I could see that being, that's needed by far. Matter of fact, computers and software can replace a whole bunch of fucking people. Their shit's so old that it took me 17 hours to get through to the IRS. And here's why it took 17 hours. Not because there wasn't a willing recipient to have a conversation with me. It was because the phone system run by computers would disconnect on me. Give us your phone number and we'll call you back. Would you like us to call you back? Press 1. Would you like to continue to hold? Press 2. Your hold time is approximately 45 minutes. So those are your choices. Push either one. And no matter what the fuck you did, you'd be sitting on hold for another half hour, 40 minutes, hour and 15 minutes, and then bam, the phone would just plain old disconnect. Whether you're on hold waiting for an operator or you push 1 to call you back, they never called you back. You enter your digits. Their computers are fucked. Their phone systems are fucked. Lucky Fathead timed out in Clues the other day based upon feelings, so I'm boycotting him for a while. I don't know who you're talking about. You mean the Rooster guy? What do you mean he timed out in Clues? I don't know what that means. At Lucky. Fathead timed out in Clues the other day. I don't know what that means. But yeah, that's a great thing that Elon, and that's something we've known. And that's if he can get that started and get that done, that'd be a big improvement for us. You know, we spend a lot of our time waffling on stuff that really has no impact on the general population as something good. We talk about, especially in true crime or in politics, I think politics is even worse, man. You know, you get all of these fucking clickbait streams. They put pictures of Oprah Winfrey up there and breaking news, Oprah Winfrey, and then or Whoopi Goldberg or this one or that one or look what Trump just did, and it's just bullshit. You know what I mean? Lucky Fathead timed out. Oh, you mean in here? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I don't know why you would have timed out. Why would you be on timeout? Yeah, see, Frank, you spent an hour and a half we would just stay waiting. Yeah, it's insane. And all of these issues are imminently solvable, but we don't even discuss these issues. Issues that we have as people seem to get not just sidelined, but you get overrun by these people with these fucking topics. Let me just take a quick peek here. I'll give you an example. And it's like none of us give it any thought. It's like we accept it. Okay? It's just drama. Washington Post reporter tries mocking Piers Morgan. Who cares? The revealing info you need to know to go forward. What info? That's that fucking paparazzi guy. Trump's latest news. Okay, I wonder that almost seems normal. That headline. Who's doing that? Mirror Now. I don't know who they are. They're probably a news outlet. Mark Levin breaking down the truth. I don't need Mark Levin to tell me the fucking truth. You know what the real truth is, Mark Levin? That guys like you with your audiences, you consider yourself the great one, you bald-headed fucking peanut-thinking fucking loser, and you don't do anything to help change the fucking world with the voice you have. How about you start going after user agreements? You start going through and showing people identity theft happens, how your name is sold, how you're treated like a commodity, not just by the fucking corporations with your ID, but as a living, breathing human being. You're only a commodity to this fucking system. Right? Why don't you start showing us that and showing us and getting us on board to find solutions? Fucking Mark Levin's going to break down the truth. I give him a breakdown. The guy ought to have a nervous break. Someone ought to fix his fucking hair. That's what he needs. And the same thing goes with all of these Bonginos and all of these other people out there. It's all this fucking high caliber fucking drama. Right? It's outrage. Frank, there's a gentleman here, Frank Murray. Him and I talked about that 100 times if we talked about it once. These titles, these outrages, and these, oh, look at this and look at that. Look, I know there's people in New York City claiming they're Black Lives Matter, but as far as I know, Black Lives Matter, all of their leaders are in jail for fucking stealing money. I don't know if Black Lives Matter as an organization even exists. There was one image of a guy screaming about that because of the acquittal of the gentleman that choked the guy that was a danger on the fucking subway. What is it? That case. So, ignore that guy. I mean, all people are going to do by talking about that guy's statements and interviews and the woman that was with him is create a fucking problem. Nothing he said has any basis in reality. The jury acquitted the guy. It's over. Move on. They didn't choke the guy because he was black. He didn't kill the guy because he choked him. There were other extenuating circumstances, and the guy was a danger to the passengers on the train. I mean, in what fucked up world do we live where you can't protect yourself and those around you? Yeah, I don't know if he's the president. Those people were in jail. He might be claiming the presidency, but if he is, Black Lives Matter's organization is pretty much gone. That guy stated Black Lives Matter voted for Trump. They're an irrelevant organization unless we give them relevance. It's more important to give relevance to the fact that Elon Musk is one of those guilty corporations taking our fucking data and selling it. And that we should actually address him on X as a group, as a large group, thousands, millions of us. Right? You believe in free speech. Well, how about freedom of fucking, how about privacy? Do you believe in the right of an individual's privacy? I mean, what the fuck right do these people have to our personal identification? It's insanity, folks. And yet, we don't think about it. We don't do anything about it. We know the problem exists. And I'll tell you what, all of these big talking heads that get paid all of this money, whether they're doing it through YouTube channels and they're doing it through grifting or they're doing it as a professional, like they're part of the media system, even people that argue against the Democrats are still part of the same system the Democrats are part of. You're just getting two sides to the same coin. No one ever puts the coin up on its edge and wants to talk about the edge, because the edge is where the solution is. The edge of the coin, you know, the thing that goes around 360 degrees, there's where your solution is. And there's always a solution. There's always a solution, but it's never discussed. The problems are never really put down for people to work on. There's never any movement or any drive to change systems that we can simply change economically. We don't need to shoot somebody to fix the healthcare system. We don't need to do that. You get 1 million signatures and you go after Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And I'll tell you what, you ain't even got to be a member of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. You get enough members with grievances and you start talking about them and posting about them and doing threads about them and doing streams about them. And in no time at all, Bank of America will behave. Trust me when I tell you, in no time at all. Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Bank of America. I mean, there's so much we could do as a group. And here we think, well, we elected Trump. He's going to fix it. Oh, and Elon's up there. He's going to fix it. Elon can do anything. He'll fix it. And really, most of the things that we really should have fixed aren't really things that are being focused on completely. I mean, there's a lot of other more pressing topics like nuclear war and shit, but still, my privacy to transact business with a company, whether it's on foot when I go to a store on foot, you don't need to know my fucking identity or phone number. Fuck you, man. I'm here to buy a chicken. I'm not here to have fucking personal relations with you people. Give me my chicken. Give me my starter. Give me my book. Give me my chocolates. Whatever it is. And that's an issue. That's a huge problem for Americans. That's such a violation of your right to fucking privacy. And if the courts won't argue that point of view, this is the best thing about being an American. You could just simply turn your back and economically force companies to take a certain path or not. Period. End of story. Our purchasing power can control what happens with businesses on our land. You could demand that we no longer engage in dealing with countries that enjoy slave labor, that put people out in cobalt mines and nickel mines and make them forage for this element that you need for you and I to have a cell phone. We could literally make massive worldwide changes by using the same social media they've used to create the world or help create the world that we as suckers allowed them to create. Joni Ernst is now on board with Pete. They're all going to have to get on board. But again, one of the things that we could do as a group is voice our particular interest in certain things and stick with it. And, you know, I mean, Glenn Beck is his name. Glenn Beck was famous for the whiteboards. But, you know, he was explaining to us all the dramas, all the connections. It was just this most convoluted, you know, it made sense, but you had to be a special kind of fucking person to watch him go along with what he was showing you. Where he could have done some things that were much simpler with his whiteboard and shown us how much fucking identity theft has taken place and how much susceptible your children is. I mean, just it's just crazy, man. Let me see this. So that's what I mean. We have the capacity to think. We have the capacity to put in motion some of these thoughts, which are good thoughts. And that's the best thing about it is none of the things that I view as being important and none of the things I think you would agree with would be boycotting certain companies. I mean, look, they got Budweiser to change. Budweiser, look what Budweiser did when the people went crazy over the transgender advertising their beer. Right? Remember that? Well, now they're doing Marlboro Man like commercials, okay? You changed the way Budweiser works, yet somehow on some very crucial social issues that are only issues because our rights are violated, right? We don't seem to get together on it as a group. She brings big value to his streams. He brings zero value to hers. It's just the truth. Who are we talking about? Yeah, and whether they hit like or not, don't worry. I got 2,140, I think, 2,140 people subscribed. That's about the number I had when I was doing this in private years ago. That I stopped in 2020 and didn't come back until 2022. And that's the other thing too. Bud was sold to Germany. All right. Well, it was owned by Saudi Arabia, some of it, if not all of it. And that's the other thing we need to be arguing for. These multinational corporations. That should be just completely argued against. That's insanity. I mean, all of our major corporations are tied up in these big conglomerates. Like some of these companies, you might have a hard time now boycotting because some of these companies are part of a multinational menu. And so, like with Nike, when people realized that Nike, the people were only being paid like $1.60 an hour. People know that to be true with the Apple manufacturing, right? In China. And it just seems like, yeah, we were sold out, but we sat around and let it get sold out. We do have this particular tool. We could change that. We could have an impact on that. We could make that a focus. But none of us think to do that. And those that are actually the ones with the big bullhorns, the big voice, the big turnout of audience are the last ones to think of doing this. And I don't know why. I think it takes as much effort to be dumb as it does to be genius. The effort's equal. The time taken to become one or the other is the same amount of time. And there isn't a single person in this audience or in this world that can't become a genius. Well, my IQ is only 95. IQ has got nothing to do with your ability to be a genius. Because IQ is not a measure of intelligence. IQ is simply a level of your ability to absorb or your ability to get a focused interest in something. But just because your IQ is 90 or 100 doesn't mean you can't learn what Einstein knows. That's fucking crazy. Of course you can. You need to dedicate the time. It may take you a little longer. But who's comparing how long it took you? To know is to know, right? And I just think people they've surrendered their ability to think to these people out here on the internet, to these people that are connected to these media outlets. And this is on both sides. This isn't a Republican or a Democrat thing. This is a humanity thing. We've given up our ability to think for ourselves. When I came out in 2022, I came out on the Kohberger case. That's what brought me back online. It had nothing to do with politics. I was sick and tired of politics. Anyway. And funny enough, folks, and I'm not saying this other than to tell you that if you accept the information at face value, okay, and you accept it only as that, you don't allow a particular belief to enter your mind when you're looking at something or when you're reading something or when you're hearing something. You don't believe in anything. You just take it for data and the information, and the information and the data will tell a story. Accept the story. But don't believe the story, because that story can simply be changed because a week or two or a year later, new information enters the fucking field. Now what? If you believe what you read the first time, anything that comes in to contradict it is uncontradictable. Your mind will not let you do that. That's because we've all been taught to believe in information rather than think. Thinking is simply an examination of the information, making an informed opinion based on that information and not going any further than it just being an opinion, right? My opinion in the beginning was the PCA was exculpatory to Bryan Kohberger. And the reason I called it to be exculpatory was because every identity that they make is not of Bryan Kohberger, and specifically anything related to Kohberger places him away from the crime scene. Nothing placed him at the crime scene. They argued, and this is one of the reasons why the defense has been delaying. Just so you know, what you're seeing in the Kohberger case not the defense delaying, it's the prosecution delaying. The prosecution knows that most people don't pay attention to facts any longer than it takes for them to come to a belief. If you believe Brian is guilty, nothing I say is going to penetrate your head. If you believe he's innocent, nothing I say is going to penetrate your head because you believe in it. I don't believe he did anything. I don't know that he did anything. I can't prove that he did anything. All I can say is they made accusations that don't fit Brian being part of the crime. That doesn't mean he didn't do it. It just means that the accusations levied against the guy can't be connected to the guy. It's kind of like accusing him of stealing an ice cream when in fact he stole a handgun, right? And so if you arrest him on stealing ice cream and then find that he has a handgun and expect now you could go after him for a handgun, but your warrant was to go after him for an ice cream, you got a problem. Right? You can't paint a crime of murder and claim that Mr. Kohberger's vehicle was involved when you know that the vehicle around that house was professionally identified by an FBI agent to be an 11 to 13. The minute you got Kohberger's name, you knew he owned a 15. Therefore, you shouldn't be charging the guy. You just shouldn't. What you should do is perform an investigation, swab the door handle of the car, swab the door handle of his house, go to his place of work. Do an investigation on the guy. He stayed in Pullman for quite some time before him and his dad decided to go back to Pennsylvania. The crime happened on the 13th of November, right? And these are the points that I make because they're not just obvious points, but they're sensible points. It's not, you don't have to be a genius to fucking see that, right? And now all this time later, what are we at 2 years now, folks? 2 years. And look at everything that Ann's looking to suppress. And look at every argument that she's making. And what have we heard from Bill Thompson quite some time, but the PCA is not relevant? I'm sorry, it is relevant. You charged the guy with 4 homicides. You said the guy was in that house, that his car is suspect vehicle 1. When you now know, and there's no question that it isn't suspect vehicle 1. Right? How the hell does this case keep going? The reason it keeps going, and the reason these legal proceedings keep being dragged out is because of the prosecution. She's still arguing for discovery that she asked for 2 years ago. That's a problem with your government agencies. That's a problem with your police. That's the problem with America's government. Delay, right? And you just naturally assume the person. The last thing you heard about it gave you the opinion, oh, there's DNA. Well, the DNA was obtained from a warrant that was obtained from an arrest warrant that was actually exculpatory. There's nothing in the warrant to charge him with 4 homicides that places him at that house. And your idea that the DNA proves he was at the house shows just how silly you are when it comes to what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? In this case, the warrant came first. And if you review the warrant and the accusations in the warrant, not one single part of that can be substantiated. Nothing. Nothing in that application for a warrant to arrest this man actually can be said to be proven. As a matter of fact, it can be shown to be unprovable. Therefore, the original arrest is debunked. Should have been debunked a long time ago. Right? When the FBI agent mirrors the motions of Ann Taylor, who stated, the FBI relied on an image of a 14 to 16 Elantra going the wrong way at the wrong time on the wrong road. She said that last year. Somewhere during this past year, she said it. And now we hear from the FBI that he's confident the cars in 11 to 13 around the house. And then, in fact, he did identify a 14 to 16 from imagery supplied to him by the police. Do you see what the police did? They supplied an image that he confirmed to be a 14 or 15, which is, and then they decided to use that particular image to base their suspect vehicle 1 off from. When they already knew that same agent had identified the car around that house. And even worse, he identified it with such specificity that the police came out on TV asking for our help to find the 2011 to 13 Hyundai Elantra. That's how specific he was, folks, that FBI. And you know that to be true. So now that you know that identification of the vehicle, the FBI agent's sticking with, that he knows that is what he saw. I don't even understand all of these streams going on out there about this case. We should all be together demanding that this be absolutely sorted out. There should be emails going to the prosecutor's office, going to Ann Taylor, going to the court, right? That's what I mean by using social media as a tool. And I'm not saying disrupt people's lives or business or stalk them, but sign a petition that there's too many inconsistencies in the probable cause arrest documents that are now shown to be provably wrong, your accusations. Why is Mr. Kohlberger still in prison? Now, I said the other night, you could have simply shown imagery of the 14 Brian's Kohlberg car, somewhere in near vicinity to the 11 and 13 car you accused was part of the crime. And here's what I think. I think people are missing, and I've been right all along, and only because I look at the facts. And I really think that part of that Frank's hearing is going to be that car. The police were told the identity of that vehicle. That FBI agent confirmed it. So why did you arrest my client that owned the 2015? Why? Under what world do you live in? Where you would then all of a sudden decide that it was a 15. What world do you live in that you would provide him with photograph of a car that was actually a 14 to 16? And he confirmed that it's that year, make, model car, right? And then you decide that that was the car involved at the crime scene. When you know that the car at the crime scene can't be Brian's car. You know that. So what gave you the idea that it was okay to go apply for a warrant to charge this guy with a crime? Right? They didn't bring him in. They could have brought him in and detained him in Idaho. They could have done it in Washington. They could have invited him to the police department and surreptitiously went out and checked his car. They could have asked him for a sample of his DNA. They could have done a trillion things prior to the actual charging document. But they didn't do anything. Everything they should have done prior to charging that guy was done only after they arrested and charged him with a crime and applied for warrants. You see? And I said that when I first got involved with true crime. That's backwards. There is no investigative work prior to the arrest, prior to the charges. And that the charges are the basis under which you were able to get the warrant. I just can't be a cop and run down to the police department as on duty cop and get a warrant on Great Pearl for something I dreamed of. I have to support the need for that warrant, which is why there's a PCA. You see, they have to tell a story to the judge. They have to say that under sworn testimony, to the best of my knowledge, these facts are true. And then when you look at the facts that they supplied to get the arrest, and you find out that every one of those facts don't put Brian Kohlberger in a 2011 to 2013 Elantra, then you should be sensible and suggest to yourself and think, well, if they got all of that wrong, whether he did it or not, that's what they used to arrest the guy, and it was the wrong info. Why not just drop the case and keep investigating? So in other words, how I would have done this is I wouldn't have let that happen. Great Pearl. Yeah, she's having that. And anybody's welcome to click in and come on up here. And that's what I mean about thinking, folks. You can't make excuses for statements that are made, and statements that are made in a court of law, or statements that are evidence that's submitted, or arguments that are made. You have to take them at face value as to whether, and you accept them as fact. It just makes it easier, right? So when Ann tells you that there's no DNA connecting to Kohlberger anywhere, then you have to accept it as fact until such time that that's disproven. And there's been no effort to disprove that. When you write up an arrest warrant and you suggest that 12 previous trips were used to plan that crime, and that on the night in question of the crime, Mr. Kohlberger turned off his phone, and it's your experience as a policeman, okay, that criminals do turn off their phone to mask their location. These are used in an arrest warrant. Those are your fucking opinions. Okay? Now, the judge should have said, I'm sorry. You need to collect hard evidence to place Mr. Kohlberger as a party to this crime. That's what I believe should have happened. This should never have made it to an arrest, but it did. And I've argued from day one that the problem with the arrest is in the arresting documents, that PCA is a joke, that I've never been accused of a crime where the actual act and evidence of my accusal wasn't in the arresting documents. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. I have to assume because his phone was off for 2 hours that during that period of time he committed the crime. Okay, I can take that line of reasoning, but now you need to show me more proof placing him at that house. You see, to me, the phone the phone information before and after is only valuable if you could place him in the house. You can't use that to place him in the house. You use that to support that he was in the house. You follow me, folks? Everything is done backwards here. And this happens in many court cases by the prosecutors because 98 or 99% of their cases are done with a plea bargain. There's no thinking involved. The only thinking involved in a lot of these court cases, criminal, civil, or otherwise, is that someone's just going to make a deal. We're going to make a deal. It's going to go away. That's the mindset that these prosecutors enter these cases with. And that's the mindset of most of the, unfortunately, that they convince you that that's the best way to go. And it just isn't. I mean, as far as defendants go, Kohberger is done. I mean, if you can give gold stars for a defendant, there you go. That kid deserves a gold star, whether he did it or not. He deserves a gold star as the defendant. He's doing everything he's supposed to do, you know? That's what I mean by, at least that kid's thinking. I could say that I suspect that Mr. Kohberger has the ability to think. And I believe Ann Taylor does too. Ann Taylor is an extremely good lawyer. And not just because she sees the things I see and she's filing motions, but because I think she saw right from the beginning when she read that. And rather than her, remember, folks, go back in the beginning. There was supposed to be a pretrial hearing. And Bill Thompson went around that with a grand jury and got him indicted and nixed the pretrial hearing. That pretrial hearing, everything you've heard me say tonight, would have been used in that hearing, and Brian Kohberger would have been released. And this goes for all the problems we have. It just seems that we've been trained not to think. We've been trained to believe in one side or the other, right? Like I question a lot of things Trump did, does, and may do. And I'm a supporter of Trump. Right? Now, my buddy comes in here. His name is Frank Murray, right? This guy's got a specific business. He does a specific thing. He's been doing it. The guy he's as old as the first Adam on earth, okay? And he's been doing this for so long that if he says this, this, and this, I take him at his word. Some people that are, there's highly skilled professionals at what they do. And he's actually not only done it, but is doing it on a daily basis. So when the guy tells you this or this on whatever it is he's doing, you take it to the bank because he's learned, he's educated himself. Yeah, I don't think he was dependent on the hometown jury. He's also allowed the hometown jury to get this news that the defense has been delaying. And nothing Ann has done has caused a delay. I mean, if you've got a list of discovery of basic things, folks, how about the audio connected to the video of the car driving around the house? Where is that? She still doesn't have that. Right? Where's that audio? You got, and she doesn't have the full video of the audio of the car either. Stupid stuff like that. How could you not have that stuff discovered to her after 2 years? As an ex-wife. So, David, I think you're right. Part of the hometown jury, but I also think, just to be fair, none of the people involved in this case have the capacity to truly think. That's what I suspect is happening. They're all capable of following orders. That's unquestionable as far as I can see. But there are moments in time where you're a decorated officer, or you're an officer or a security guard or somebody that's there to do the particular tasks that we're talking about, like in crime, where you do need to question your orders. You do need to question the people giving them. And you do need to go on the record as questioning them, even if that means when you realize you're wrong, you get sanctioned. That's what these people are supposed to do. If your partner's stealing an apple, right, that's nothing you let go. That's something that needs to be addressed. And it seems as if everybody has gotten away from understanding that thinking and actions need to just be consistent and just be honest. I'm just flabbergasted that PCA was ever accepted as a charging document for a multiple homicide. I mean, it's mind-numbing to me. And if you look at all of the items that she's trying to suppress, they're all the items that people are focused and talking about. Not a single one of those items that she's trying to suppress or she's trying to question or get out is a video from the Grubhub or the grub truck, or video from the band field, or reflections on some asphalt. They're all relevant to the charges. They're all relevant to the accusations. They're all relevant to the evidence they have and evidence that they have yet to be given. So, and like I said, any of you are welcome to come up into this stream if you'd like. But moving away from Idaho 4 and just going to daily life things where we run into all of this chaos where, even in your own town, if you've got an area of road where the sign is 35 and they write their most tickets, thousands of you need to get together and say that road needs to be 45. If in fact the road will sustain, I mean, there's ways to determine whether it can or can't be. But so if you live in a town and a bunch of you are all on board with even the possibility the town has placed the speed sign there as a trap, right? Then that's what social media is for. That's what this ability to connect and tie to each other and go out and do something about it. Something as trivial as that. Yeah, they did. They reversed engineered it to Brian Kohlberger. And look, I still don't say that he did it or didn't do it, because I could give you 1,000 scenarios that show you he did it. Right? They're all based on woulda, coulda, shoulda, or if, which is meaningless. Right? In America, you can't be convicted for that. In America, it's supposed to be based on hard evidence. And that even goes with charging you and taking away your freedom and your livelihood and that in and of itself requires evidence. People act like a probable cause arrest or a probable cause document. It's just, it doesn't have to be accurate. Are you out of your fucking mind? What do you mean it don't have to be accurate? How in the hell can you think like that? Of course it does. Imagine if you're charged or you're arrested for inappropriately doing something with a child or murder. Any of these charges, folks. Like, here's another way I see things a little differently than others. I really don't give a fuck who was at Diddy's parties. I don't give a fuck who was at Epstein Island. I don't give a fuck who fucks who. I just don't. It's none of my damn business. What do you think people with a lot of money and free time are going to be doing with themselves? What do you think they're going to do, folks? First of all, be honest. You don't see any of them running around with charities and churches. So they're fucking around having fun. Right? All that would matter to me, all that I'm entitled to know as a fellow American, the only thing I'm entitled to know about Diddy are accusations of criminal behavior. Okay? That's it. That's it. The same thing with Epstein Island. I don't care if Bill Clinton was there 2,600 times. All right? I don't care if he got 75,000 blowjobs while he was there. It's none of my business. Unless it can be shown that the actions that he took were criminal. And they were either rape or they were some underage thing or whatever could be determined. If you were draining people's blood against their will. I mean, it would have to be a crime of some sort. And unless you can connect these people to a crime, I really don't care what the fuck they do with their penises and their vaginas. That's their business. What makes us think we're entitled to know who the people were at Epstein Island? Well, just because you went to Epstein Island, it makes you a pedophile because the owner of the island was a pedophile? No, that's not accurate. You don't even know who you're working. You don't know who lives across the street from you. And you're not supposed to unless you want to. Go get to know them. Adrenochrome, we don't know that that's true. That's another rumor. Show me evidence. Charge somebody with a crime for that, or I don't want to hear about it. That's where I think part of our training to be human beings and adults is that these conspiracies and these dramas and this bullshit are designed to attract our attention first. And we don't really think it through. But do you really care that an ex-president went to an island that was loaded with beautiful women and got his groove on? I really don't want to know who Abe Lincoln slept with. Do you? It's none of my business. I don't care who George W. Bush banged. Why should I care about who Bill Clinton banged? You know who should care? His wife, his family. But that's it. That's it. It's none of my business. I missed you the other night here. Both houses were closed last Friday. I'm in South Dakota and to get to see turkey, bunnies, deer, and bighorn sheep every day. Oh, that's nice, Heidi. And this is what I mean, where we get lost in our ability to think. We don't play 1+1=2 on the internet. When it comes to these issues, they become social topics, and they get spread around the internet to the point where ad nauseum of the same thing. One streamer will have 45 different titles for the same fucking piece of information, and it's mind numbing. That's why you see me take big breaks. I can't take it, man. I find it to be, oh man, I can't put a word to it. It's the most mind numbing thing I've ever experienced when I walk around some of these social media sites. It just seems to me that it has no purpose to it. Okay, I don't need to hear from 50 different streamers what Whoopi Goldberg said, that she's going to boycott sex. I don't care what Whoopi Goldberg does at all, not even a little bit. Now, if Whoopi Goldberg commits a crime, or she does something to interfere with the freedom and well-being of a fellow American, then that should be public knowledge. But her personal opinions, no matter what TV show she's connected to, I don't need to know about it. If I wanted to know about it, I'd watch the fucking show. No, if missing children are connected to that island, then connect the missing children. Hopefully we can find the missing children, right? So, again, that's if. That fits into what I've been saying. The if is the problem. You can't make up your mind that everybody that went to that island did something wrong until that if is actually confirmed, that missing children on that island. Okay, that's what I said. If any criminal activity is connected to any of the visitors to that island, then we should know. But that doesn't mean I'm entitled to every name that went there. You can't just depose. It's possible everybody molested a child there. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I can't accept that to be true without seeing it true. I need to see the facts. That's all. It's not that hard to get. I mean, it's not like I'm unreasonable or I'm asking people to do something that's just stupid. But if you can't confirm that somebody did or didn't do something, like they proved Bill Clinton got head in the Oval Office from Monica Lewinsky. I still think that was none of our business. And the reason any of that became our business was really Bill's fault, because he lied under oath, If he didn't lie under oath, that would have just been something the public knew. But I mean, that's important. The guy's the president of the United States, and he's got some young intern getting a blowjob, right? It's inappropriate on a level that's what the issue there was. And that we need to know, because that guy's leading our country. But under ordinary everyday circumstances, I don't want to know what Bill Clinton did at that island. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to know what Jeffrey Epstein did, unless it crossed the line of the criminality. But it's funny how many people just can't accept it for what it is. They can't take that line of understanding. They have to, wow, 26 times, and how could he not have done something? Well, 200. I just think, how could you be that fucking stupid? How could you look at it like that? How could you place that? Because it's like you've been trained to be ignorant. 26 visits to some place doesn't make you a criminal perpetrator, even if the area that you've entered is riddled with crime, right? No, I'm not just saying to you, Gray. I'm just saying in general, the way we've all been conditioned to view things and to see things, and we don't give it a second thought. We don't consider, wait a minute. Okay, a lot of these actors, we kind of knew that these people were freaks. We kind of knew it. We didn't really talk about it. It was something that's been known about Hollywood for a long time now. If any of that freakishness broken the law, has it violated an underage child or an underage adult or somebody not of the age of consent? Has it been forced upon women? Has it been rape? Has it been to do drug somebody? And if that stuff can be established, then I want to know who those perpetrators are, right? But the idea that you could blanket the whole place with it, or just because somebody was seen at Diddy's means that they were part of what Diddy was doing. I mean, that may be true, right? Maybe, I don't know. Some of these guys were doing what they were doing with Diddy. Maybe they were down with that. I don't know. I don't really want to know. I don't want to know if Tom Cruise likes dick. That's none of my business, man. I just don't want to know these things. Unless the dick, put any name here, unless the dick they enjoy is of an underage boy. Now I got a problem. Now we have something we got a beef. But, I don't care what women prefer, men or women or both. I don't, right? It's none of my business. And yet, for some reason, we've been conditioned that every time a name is mentioned and it's even remotely connected to Epstein Island, we automatically say that they're, we treat them like they're pedophiles. We act like these people have assaulted somebody. We have no fact to support that opinion, but there we go. Justin Bieber's name comes up all the time, but where's Justin Bieber coming forward to acknowledge that these particular allegations are accurate? See, at this point, even when it comes to Justin Bieber, we don't know. There's innuendo, there's the illusion, there's some songs that he made. I mean, you could paint this picture that Justin Bieber was assaulted. Well, let's also be clear about this. The victim has a say in this too. And the victim may not want anybody to know what happened to them. And that would be the right of the victim. I can't complain about that. So if there was some connection between Justin when he was young and inappropriate sexual acts, right? Well, then I haven't seen that. There's a video of him sucking off Odell. I've never seen that. And was Justin Bieber old enough to give permission to blow some dude? Was he being forced? Was he raped? I mean, a video of him sucking off Odell, whoever Odell is, in and of itself isn't proof of child molestation, right? Do we know what date it was taken? Do we know when? And so, again, I don't really care if Justin Bieber likes dick. Whatever. And that's the simplest way to view things. Yet it seems like for many people that to take reality and to take life on life's terms, or to look at the world through a simple lens, right? Which the way I'm viewing things, folks, is the simplest way to view it. And it leaves me more time to look at other things. Right? And so I don't spend a lot of time. I did spend a lot of time on streams and on stuff talking about the Idaho 4, making the same arguments and points that now Ann is actually arguing in court. And I said that a month, February of 2022, January 2020, right away. The minute I read that PCA, that's when I got involved with it, with the true crime community. And there's nothing that I'm seeing her do now that has anything done differently than I would have done or that I suggested get done. So the same thing with this is Justin. But that has to be proven. He was taken to the Diddy World, Ellen, at like 13 at best. Okay. So now connect that age to an illicit act. Okay. And now you got something. And that's something that we should know. But we got to give Justin Bieber, if he was forced, or maybe Justin Bieber was an eager participant. Even if he was, whatever his opinion of it was, he was victimized, because at 13, you're not of any age to make a decision. And no matter what the adult does, no matter what your desires are at 13, any interaction with an adult puts the adult in a criminal position. No, that's not always true. If it walks like a duck, it's a duck. That's a simple analogy, but life is a little bit more complicated than that. And all of these people that were Diddy's Island, their biggest fear may be not that they committed a crime, but there were crimes that happened there that they were unaware of. Maybe it didn't happen on the night they were there. Maybe it happened at the one after, the one before. Maybe it was happening in the basement and they were upstairs, right? Cat Williams alludes to that. So is Cat Williams, should he be prosecuted along with Diddy and others? Listen to his comedy. He alludes to different things, just like people are they're alluding to Justin Bieber. And I'm saying all these things that we allude to and then we discuss and we dive into and we start making it, and we have no fact to do that yet. Right? I mean, yeah, well, it's all, you got to make it, life is very simple, folks. Nuclear power and rocketry is very simple. There's nothing complicated about it at all, other than everybody telling you it's complicated by saying, well, geez, I'm not a rocket scientist. Well, you too could be a rocket scientist. Okay. You too could be a rocket scientist. I don't care how old you are or where you come from. There's a thing called books, right? That's your first place to start to learn what rockets are. There's some complex systems in there, but they're not overly complex to the point of your inability to understand. But you've been discouraged from trying to understand rocketry, right? I'm not a brain surgeon. No, but you could be. That's the part that nobody shares with you. What do you think? You're a brain surgeon? No, but I swear to God, I could be. Just give me the information. Let me go to a place to learn how to do that. And I too could be a brain surgeon. Look at Carl. Carl's still stuck on the flat earth, right? But he's going to have to explain how Antarctica gets a 24-hour daylight on his flat earth. But again, it shouldn't matter because it's flat. No matter what they say, they're right. There was somebody out there today saying that space is just a continuation of the ocean. And I'm thinking, well, then how come I'm not wet? How could the ocean be in space? How could the space be made of the ocean? I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? But it's a good question, right? And so I think I do view space as water. Okay? As a flat surface of water. I do view space that way because it helps me understand visually what's going on up there. It's a medium that we're moving through. Light can only travel so fast in that medium, 186,226 miles an hour. That's the speed of light. However, space can go faster than the speed of light. So now you got a conundrum, right? Nothing can go faster than the speed of light but space itself. Well, how does that see? And those are things that I'll read about, I'll look into, try to understand. Because I'm not going to get stuck on the minutia of the Banfield. I'm not going to get stuck on Justin Bieber. When evidence comes forward to support what people have suggested about Mr. Bieber, then I'd like to see the evidence and review it and come to my own opinion on it. The same goes for Clinton. The same goes for anybody that went to Epstein's Island. I'd like to hear the story. If an accuser says that she was raped, I'd like to hear her story. I'd like to see what evidence she puts forward. Right? So, in other words, I'm not going to pick a side. There's no side to pick until you have the facts. And then at that point, the facts speak for themselves. You're not even making a choice. The facts will explain. They'll explain themselves. That's the best thing about sticking with what you have to use. And there's nothing wrong with looking for more, but I mean, I don't know how to get any more information about Justin Bieber. And I'm certainly not going to listen to streams that are going to ferment about that. I'm not going to listen to the flat earthers. They've shown me nothing that confirms their argument. Other than their argument is everything anti-government, anti-science. Everything they say and every explanation, every argument they make is an attempt to prove that these other people have been lying to you. And I'm not sure that that's accurate. I don't think every policeman's a crook, and I don't think every priest is a pedophile. I don't think everybody that went to Diddy's house or Epstein's house committed any kind of a crime or sexual crime against another person. It's possible, probably less likely than possible, but unless there's evidence, that isn't something I want to get into a debate about. With the Idaho 4, I have no argument discussing the facts that are available to us. The water came from above and below. Well, yeah, rain definitely does come from above, Carl. It's one of those things that come out of clouds. It's pretty awesome to watch. Yeah, something you want to stay out of, especially in the cool weather like now. Where I am, it's in the 40s and high 30s, low 40s, low 50s, and you don't want to be out in the rain for that. Yeah, I just think that our ability to think is 10,000 times more powerful than we even attempt to use. We even attempt to apply. That's true. I agree with what you're just saying. And we do see injustice seems to be everywhere. And it isn't everywhere. But it is in too many places it shouldn't be. And so that's enough, right? Right? I agree with that. That's exactly right. And people believe. Unfortunately, they don't realize that fact can be corrected. It just takes action by us. That's the part of the formula that nobody's thought through yet. Years and years and years. Literally, you could go back to the internet became much, much more of a potent tool when Trump started running for president in 2014 and 2015. That's when the social media's impact on the views and on the thinking and on the beliefs of people really took off. People forget that it's only been 9 or 10 years that it's been like this. Now, there was all that disinformation in the news before, but I'm talking about massive to the 5.62 billion morons you see scrolling across the screen that are connected to the internet. this mass media, this mass communication system, right? Facebook, the censorship of YouTube, the censorship of Twitter, this and forming these ways of thinking and viewing the world because that's the only thing you're allowed to see or say. That's only been going on for the last 10 years. So it's almost like we expected to give people the benefit of the doubt anymore because we've got bitten in the ass for as long. Yeah. And but again, that's also our fault. That's also our fault because we do not use this particular medium as an effective tool to solve the world's issues. Our voices aren't heard. We think because we voted for Trump, our voices are heard. No, they're not. They're not. You need to make sure Trump hears your voice. You need to make sure the people that are going to be running for the next election hears your voice. You need to make sure that the world hears our voice, right? We want personal privacy on the internet. And if that means if I go offshore for data, I lose that ability, then I don't want the data to go offshore. I want my data to stay in the United States. And if that means I don't get to see pretty pictures of the Himalayas, then so fucking be it, right? I'll fly to the Himalayas. Just like Paul Harvey warned, our father who aren't in Washington. Yeah. Our capacity to think has been so subdued, folks. And it's been supplanted by our ability to believe. Meanwhile, everything religious and spiritual has been trampled on and trashed and thrown out and ridiculed and made fun of. And that's the only place your belief should be used. I said this earlier. I forget. I was in a scientific channel. And there was a note in the air similar to what I'm sharing. Oh, they're talking about it being a simulation. I think I've said that here. We are in a simulation. Everything that you come in contact with and see and touch and smell and taste and hear, every single thing is part of a simulation that every single one of us are a part of, that every single one of us make real. Everything that you see is a moving particle. Everything you see is in motion, no matter what it is, from a rock, everything, folks. And our conscious ability manipulates the motion. And what you see as a glass because we've determined it to be a glass. We, all of us, a cup, a glass, a table, a road, we, not just that we make them, but that they even exist and they came into existence is because we made them come into existence. And the reason we have so much trouble is because the original sin from the tree of knowledge. You're not supposed to believe and worship knowledge or idols. You're not. You want to believe in the supernatural of a being or something that makes all of this possible. It gives us the power to do what we're doing. I agree we live in a simulation, but it's a self-created simulation that's given to you from conception. From the moment you're conceived, the reality that all the rest of us are out here that we've created is going to be drilled into your head from the first fucking words you can speak. Every ability and every limit that you're going to enjoy on this earth is given to you as a child, either through good experiences or bad experiences, no matter what. A person living a bad childhood, such as myself, and a person living a good childhood, such as many of you, all see a car. You see? You see a road, you see an airplane, you see a cob of corn, you see, and all of these things are creations of the human consciousness. Our problem is that we believe in our knowledge. We don't think about our knowledge. We don't think and actually try to understand what it is to be a human and how much more powerful as a group we all really are. We just, when they say you have little faith, you can move mountains. That's a statement that has such depth to it that even the scientific community seems not to understand it. Right? Paul Harvey warned, our father who aren't in Washington. I can try to pull it up and play it. Let's see what we got here. Let me see here, Paul Harvey. Right, open letter from God, Paul Harvey. Maybe I should listen to his stuff and start bringing it back, right? And a lot of, I do say things that I'm sure a lot of people think might be just fucking crazy. And, I can't tell you whether it's crazy or not. because these thoughts, these conclusions that I've come to are simply because of the facts that are available to me. Science is trying to prove the existence of God, and religion is trying to prove the existence of God. Religion is the creator of science. Okay? Religion is the creator of science. I don't know if I can play this and I hope I don't get struck because I'm going to play it. Right? So there's a letter from God by Paul Harvey. Happened to the Singers. If I were the devil. Are you sure that's the one? Which one is it, Carl? Or somebody said that his poem is what? Our Father who art in Washington. Let me go over to YouTube and see if I can. Great poem. Where is it? I miss Paul Harvey. Where the hell is it on here, man? Yike. Is it the one that says an open letter from God, Paul Harvey? Is that the correct one? There's the other one, I were a devil. So let's see what happens here. It's the I one, if I were the devil, because I came across that one too. That came out in 1965.
If I were the Prince of Darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Well, in all fairness, basically exactly what I've been railing about. much more eloquent. He definitely has a much better delivery than I do. But exactly what I rant about when you hear me on here, what I try sharing with people, we are so fucked up. And you don't have to call it the devil. This guy said this in 1965, and just look at where we are. And one of the things that he doesn't do is give us a solution. So I guess if I could say that I have anything in common with Paul Harvey, it's that I want to be the man that offers a solution. Give people the understanding that you're smarter than you think. You're wiser than you think. You're more capable than you think. And you have a tool that you think is their weapon that is in fact the biggest tool that you will ever possess in your lifetime. The ability for us to connect with one another, the ability for us to come together with one another, even those of us that are different from one another. We have an infinite capacity to change the world. And the only thing stopping us from doing anything is ourselves. We've allowed the exact programming that he just laid out to conquer us. We're a sleeping beast that is yet to be awakened. And most of you run around saying that you're awake because you don't listen to the mainstream media. Well, I'm telling you right now that you come on the internet and you're still asleep. You're engaged in the same kind of behavior the mainstream media gives you. You're just doing it on a more personal one-to-one level. Not one of you are out there looking for a solution. And I forgive me for those that are, because there are some, obviously. But you can't be forgiven. And you shouldn't forgive yourself for allowing this social media to take control of you rather than you, the all-powerful being of humanity, taking care of the internet. We let pornography overrun the internet. You know, I view pornography. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to view pornography. Look, he predicted gambling. Go to states like mine in New York where gambling is now legal. Everything that he said and that is true. And and listen, the reason it's all true was we as a group didn't stand up. Now we've been given on a silver platter. We've all been given on a silver platter the one tool that can correct for all of our mistakes. The one tool that can correct for all of our inactions. The one tool that can correct so much of the horrors that we see happening and discuss every single day of the week. There is no need to execute the CEO of a healthcare company, and there's no need for the CEO of a healthcare company to deny your mother coverage. None of that needs to be. Yet we sit back and we wallow in that. We bathe in that. We become outraged in this. And we want to debate this rather than debate what the solutions are. What are the solutions that can be put in place? What can we do as a group of people that would remove the need for somebody to feel like they need to go kill that guy because of his health insurance policies? That's where we're responsible. That's where we're falling down. And that's where we do have an infinite ability with this particular way of communicating to correct that, if only we choose to correct it. I've been talking about this, especially when I was in politics, and especially even more so. I was in Dago's channel today, and I made a point referencing the CEO that was killed. And Dago was quick to realize that I've been saying that ever since I came into true crime. We're the ones that can make it work. We're the ones that can fix it. I don't need Officer Payne. What I need is for Officer Payne to know that to arrest an American, you have to have an unquestionable evidence obtained and collected in an unquestionable manner. Doing the right thing is the only thing that we should be concentrating on doing. And yes, we'll fall short. Yes, there are those that are going to take advantage of your honesty. Yes, there are. They need to be held to account. They need to be called out. Wasn't it Benjamin Franklin that said the simplest way to cure poverty is by shaming those that are impoverished? And I agree with him. But what do? We complain about people that collect welfare. We complain about people that take disability benefits that shouldn't have disability benefits, but we don't do anything. No solution, but we certainly love to be outraged. No solutions, never solutions. But the outrage is real. Right? Look, I think there's solutions for anything. Okay? Even when it comes to some of these things you're talking about with the Epstein Islands, with the people that have a desire for youthful is wrong. That's pedophilia, no. But for people to engage in sex with other people, anonymous people, or acts of sex that aren't traditional, right? It's not just missionary. It's, you're whatever you could think of, right? There should be an amusement park, a sexual amusement park for adults. These people should all be tested. Part of your application to go to the amusement park should be that you're tested. And that protection and proper and physician. In other words, why is it kept? And it's got to be kept under wraps and secret. Who gives a shit if Marco Rubio has had a gay encounter? This should not be a reason to destroy the man because he's a Republican. You could be gay and a Republican. But look how many years we destroyed people that we found out had touched another man. You don't have to agree with it. No one's telling you to go. But my point is there's always a solution to things. And sometimes the solutions are going to be things that you won't agree with. But the solution of protecting people's sexual health, protecting their health in general, and allowing them to engage in their fantasies should be of no concern of you. But doing it the right way should be what matters, because people are always going to gravitate to that. The same thing with drug use. I was a drug user a long time ago. I never agreed with the societal and the systematic destruction and the downward looking view of you're a scumbag because you do coke. Okay? Some things, folks, should just be good. Our life should be good. And if your path means that you need to be addicted to get through your life, then there should be systems in place. Right? Some things are egregious, like the assaulting of a child or the rape of a woman. I mean, obviously, some crimes, there is no compromise. There's a punishment. But for many of the behaviors and many of the things and choices that people make, you'll see that the idea to criminalize it is just insane. Or to hide it and keep it secret. Let's keep it secret. This way, if this person ever wants to go anywhere in life, somebody can hold that secret over their head, right? Or they can't do it because they've got these secrets. We've set a system up and we participate in a system that is very nonsensical, and it seems to only benefit those that can navigate through this bullshit or manipulate this bullshit to be used to their own personal benefit. In other words, it's almost as if any satanic like fucking actions or behaviors are the ones that actually are able to climb the ladder. And we're responsible for that as much as the fact that that's a reality. We just don't hold ourselves to a higher standard. And maybe all of us do individually in this particular room, right? Or maybe hundreds of millions of us hold us to that particular high standard. But as a group, we don't act on it. As a group, we don't vocalize it. As a group, we don't give the examples. I mean, the example of my life is an example of making all the wrong choices because I didn't really know any better, right? And then when I did know better, I was benefiting from those choices, so I kept making them, right? It's fucked up. I eventually realized that I was hurting people. My benefit was at the cost of others, and I had to stop that. I did. Not because I'm some moralistic or religious fucking guy or I had a great awakening, but I just got tired of doing it. And if that's what life is about, I've got to hurt and rob and steal from you so that I can go do what I want to do. Then there's no point in me doing what I want to do. Right? Well, no, we do own homes, Carl. I do take slight issue with property taxes. A lot of people think you shouldn't have, why am I paying property tax? Well, I mean, in a fair system where you've got indoor and outdoor plumbing, where you've got sewage treatment, where you've got roads, where you've got infrastructure that we all share, I think that, you shouldn't lose your house as a result of it. In other words, I don't think that it should be called a property tax, and that you should lose your house and they're going to kick you out of your house and you owe $10,000 in property taxes on a $500,000 home and they kick you out. But we've never really vocalized or pushed back against that. These systems are in place, but we have this tool called the internet. We could actually change or modify these systems with a big voice. Right? Because we can agree that having a fire truck and an ambulance at the disposal of everybody in your area is a good idea. We can agree that roads are a good idea. But what we can't agree with, and we can also agree government corruption, government overreach. We can agree to all of the chaos that shouldn't be a part of that. The losing your house because you got back on your property tax. That shouldn't be part of it either. Right? What should be part of it is okay, you can't afford the taxes. Your house is worth much more than the taxes you owe. You give the guy 18 months to sell his house or 12 months to sell his house and pay not just the taxes they owe, but the accrued taxes until it sells. But let this person manage the removal of the asset, not the state, not the government. Right? I mean, yeah, but and here's the other thing that bothers me. People that come from my background that actually get away from all of this chaos and crime and drugs, we get patted on the back, and that's the last fucking thing we deserve. Pat me on the back. Are you insane? You know who needs to be patted on the back? The person that followed all the rules, that did everything that they thought they were supposed to do because it seemed to be the right thing for them to do. Those are the people that need to be held up and patted on the back. And then, again, that kind of a person would probably be discussing some of these topics, because I think that's a good point when you bring up and we pretend to own our homes. It's not slavery. It's not. It's a mutual societal agreement between you, me, and people I never met before. So I'm not completely on the down run of taxes. And I think most people, Heidi said it earlier, I should have left it on here. We're so disillusioned because of what's happening that everything is bad. And really, our system of government is ideal. Our systems are ideal. I mean, we don't owe $36 trillion because we bought something worth $36 trillion or spent it on things. Most of that's been stolen or lost or laundered, or, we shouldn't be paying $1 million for a missile. By now, a missile should be the cost of a bullet with the amount of fucking missiles we've made. So there's a whole bunch of endemic corruption in all of these systems. And we as a group of people do not stand up as a big group and call this stuff out. We hear the news about the Pentagon failed the last 7 audits and we get outraged. Where's the solution to that? Why have they failed? What do they lack? What is it that could allow that to happen? Why aren't people being fired or put in prison? Where did our money go? That's the topic that should be focused on by the Bonginos, by the Hannitys, by the Maddow's, by the Anderson Coopers. And those are the topics that need to be addressed. The topics that need to be brought up isn't to focus on the problem, the chaos, and the outrage and the fucking ridiculousness of it. But, okay, that's going on. This is the solution. You're right. That's not accurate either. That's not. Listen, again, you're just preaching to the choir. We all know these things are happening, Carl. What are our solutions as a group? None of us have come together in a group. I mean, there's people, look at Tucker Carlson, the position that guy's in with 20 million or more followers. Imagine Tucker Carlson if he was talking and saying the things I'm saying and then actually sat down. I can afford to hire a few people to start something like this. I've said that all along. I'm by no means a millionaire, but my needs are little versus what I have is wealth. I might as well be a millionaire. Okay? I don't have the voice. I don't have the following. Part of that's obviously my fault because I am a fucking prick. I get it. And I've said this a long time ago. I'm probably not the guy you want as your messenger. Right? Even though the message is accurate. Now what he said, Paul Harvey, he is a great messenger. That guy is a great messenger. Let's listen to this. This is a short one. Hang on a second. I'm going to present this because I've never heard. I've heard some of the stuff from Paul Harvey. This is one that I've never heard of. But here we go.
Of the story. Willie was a senior at Steele High School, an outstanding student, especially in the subjects of literature, history, and science. He planned to attend Yale Divinity School after graduation. Willie was also a fine athlete, baseball, football, hockey, gymnastics. In fact, he was playing hockey with the high school varsity team one March day when all at once his promising future blew away like dandelion fluff. Young fellow on the other team didn't mean to hurt Willie. He just swung his stick back, accidentally striking Willie in the face, but the damage was considerable.
Willie, who weighed less than 140 pounds, was knocked flat on his back. His front teeth went flying in all directions. His mouth was bloody hamburger. A surgeon did the best he could. Willie would have to stay home and rest for a while, but before the teenager was well enough to return to school, he developed terrible stomach trouble and then heart trouble. Now he was a semi-invalid. The pressure of his studies would prove intolerable, so Willie dropped out of school. Willie dropped out of high school. There would be no Yale, no ministry. The family's hopes for academic distinction now rested with Willie's kid brother. I said the family's hopes for academic distinction now rested with Willie's kid brother, but this is the rest of the story. Little brother disliked school. He was a bright pupil, just not sufficiently inspired by the curriculum. And something else, the teachers were often tough on him. Back in 6th grade, for example, the youngster, this is the younger brother now, remember, got into a bit of minor mischief for which his teacher, Miss Bond, sent him home, and he was told not to return until Miss Bond had met personally with one of his parents. There were 2 weeks left before the end of school year. Dad was away on business. Mother was otherwise busy, so the little boy, well, he never did finish the 6th grade. The family had moved to another town before he re-entered high school. He got good grades, but once again failed to win the respect of many of his instructors, and that may have exasperated him more than he let on. Anyway, one day before graduation, the boy quit school forever. Now, his excuse was that there were too many required subjects that did not interest him. That was the reason he gave for dropping out. In any event, his academic career was over, as was his older brother's. And surely their father must have anguished over the future of his sons. Those two boys who would forever be high school dropouts in a highly competitive world. Well, the boys drifted in and out of some ordinary jobs. But then one day, these two dropouts, these two lads, neither of whom was making it in any specific job, teamed up. And the result was one of the greatest achievements in the history of mankind. Your notions may have been misconceived regarding the two men who took that first giant leap at Kitty Hawk. Now I hope you'll always remember their initial underachievement. The two high school dropouts, Wilbur and Orville, the Wright brothers. Because now you know the rest of the story.
Now that's a surprise to me. It's a surprise to me that it was the Wright brothers he was describing. I guarantee none of us even probably thought where the point of the story was going. I dropped out in 11th grade for many reasons, but one of the biggest problems I had with high school was that the topics weren't relevant to my interests. And I have a wide range of interests. That's also the other, and they're not common interests. A lot of people are interested in football or a sport, or like, I'm interested in cars, but there's a limit to that. There's only so much you could really do with a car. I'm interested in pure knowledge. I want to understand how the great minds thought of the things they thought of and try to understand their reasoning and their thinking to come to the conclusions they came to. That was where I didn't know that when I was in 11th grade, but that's kind of a person I am. I mean, some people would describe it as I like to be contrary, and there is some accuracy to that statement. But I really wanted to know, like when I was a little kid, my first real memory of thinking is when a car or a truck goes down the road, the tires are rolling in the direction that it's traveling, right? We all know that. So you see a car go by and the tires are spinning in the direction that it's traveling. What a lot of you may not know, and I'm sure many more of you do, is that the engine spins in a completely different direction than the tires. So the drive shaft underneath the vehicle is moving left and right. It's making a circle going left and right, and it goes back to an axle where they call it a differential. And so the input shaft from your transmission to your drive shaft to your differential, that shaft is spinning. If you put your arm out in the air and twisted it, that's the direction in which it spins. Well, imagine a spinning device that way, but the tire rolls in a completely contrary direction. Right? When you spin your arm, your hand spins with it. Well, that spinning motion was converted to a motion to propel a vehicle forward. That's the first time I remember thinking. When I was a little kid in a car seat looking out of a window, a truck pulled up next to us, and you could see the drive shaft, and you could hear the engine roar. You know, it was a diesel truck, and you could see the drive shaft spinning and the tires going a different way than it was spinning. And it just made me think, how does that happen? That was my first, if I ever want to say I thought about anything or noticed something, that's my first recollection of a thought. And I couldn't have been, I don't even think I was in kindergarten yet. Steve Harvey was yeah. And to think that the Wright brothers both dropped out of high school and they were accurate. They were totally accurate. The business, I run a business and I'm fairly successful. I got to say that as far as the amount of education or thought that needs to go into the business I run is grade school level. It's just simple, right? The only thing that makes my business a good business is I have a good subcontractor or subcontractors. And it's their skills that make my business what it is. And I reward them well for that. And that, if I've learned anything about business, it doesn't matter if it's an ice cream shop or if it's a rocket shop. That's the key. The right people that are determined, that are there to do the task, and they're going to do, in most cases with any job, repetitive tasks, and they're going to accomplish them accurately each time they do them. Right? And you get that kind of a person to work for you as a business, and you're going to have a successful business. Now keep adding people like that. If I could tell you anything about business, that's all I can tell you. In some businesses, you could do them alone. But the key to your success, if you're going to do it alone, is exactly the key to hire an employee, right? So you don't take a conductor of a train and stick him in a rocket laboratory unless his passion is rockets. You don't take a guy from a Best Buy who's into electronics and put a hammer and pouch around his waist and tell him to be a carpenter. The real secret to business success is to be able to find people that are doing what your business offers, and then you enable them, period. It's the old analogy. The best way to direct traffic is in the direction that it's already flowing. It's very difficult to change the direction of the traffic as it's flowing. And so if you want to have a successful business, yourself and those that you hire have to be on a direction that you're both flowing. So if you're a florist, people that are connected or they're into that stuff, that's their thing. You get involved with people, you hire those people, or you can teach people. You could bring people in with no experience, new to the workplace, right? And you should notice sooner or later, based on their work product, if they have a natural ability, a passion, or a desire, or even if they're just doing it because it's the only job that they got, but they're doing it well and they're achieving the tasks that you have in front of them. You need to keep rewarding them and keep incentivizing them. Okay. Even if they get to a level where they can only do so much, that doesn't mean their raises have to stop, because their raise isn't always and shouldn't always be based on production. It should also be based on many other things, their commitment to the task, their consistent commitment, and all of those other things that make a good employee also weigh in to what that person's wages should be. It's not that difficult to run a business. You know, everybody thinks it is. Everybody's afraid to do it. I get it, but it's really, you need to find people that are, and they're not that hard to find. Every business can find employees. And some businesses don't have a need for anything as deep as that. Some businesses, you hire high school kids to serve ice cream. It's not that complicated. They don't need to like it or not like it. They just need to get an hourly wage, part-time, and whatever. Yeah. Steve Harvey and P. Diddy and Hollywood are active now. But we don't know the involvement of of all of these actors and all of that. And like I said, if people went to his home to have a freak off and they were all consenting adults, I don't even want to know who they were. It's none of my business to know Steve Harvey was at Diddy's house, unless what Steve Harvey did is criminal and behavior. Otherwise, I don't want people. That's the other thing too. That's where all the drama comes from, and that's why you have these, like, all your elections are about destroying the opponent, digging up dirt on your opponent. I look at. I want to know if you're capable to do the task at hand. I don't care if you were a drug addict or if you were a sex addict or if you weren't, if you're religious, if you're I don't give a fuck when it comes to working with people. None of that's my business. If what you've done is cross the line in crime, then I should have the right to know, right? And you should be held to account, or the accusation needs to be, you need to show that you're innocent of the accusation, and not even go and prove it, but that the accusation does not arise to a level of criminal accusation, right? Yeah, but guilt by association, and it's a real thing. Yeah, I guess you could say that. But on the other hand, is that always true? Guilt by association. I don't think we should disparage people because of guilt by association. I mean, we all enjoy sex, right? We all love sex. So I don't care if Steve Harvey was at Diddy's. I just don't. Unless what he did was criminal. Unless what he did was to a child or someone, forced himself on somebody. Right? Look what they did to Mike Tyson. I don't think, based on what I was exposed to, that Mike Tyson raped that woman. I just don't. There wasn't enough in there to convince me that he raped those women. Same thing with Michael Jackson. I've never seen any evidence or testimony that confirms to me that Michael Jackson was a pedophile. There's a lot of stories about it. There's a lot of it, woulda, coulda, shouldas. There's a lot of rumors about it, but I don't hold Michael Jackson in any lower of an opinion than I held when he was alive. He was a weird dude. Just a weird dude. I can't, I don't know. I don't know if I could have associated with him. Not for anything bad, but just because he's just a different kind of a person than I am. We probably wouldn't have clicked. He would have told me a long time ago to shut up. I'm relatively positive of that. Because he wanted to sing, right? But did he assault children? I've not seen any credible allegation to support that. If I ever did do, or if it's ever there to see and I come across it, then and only then will I see him in a different light. But I've seen him in the same. Diddy, I paid no attention to Diddy. I ain't fucking part of that fucking idea with all that music. I never paid attention to any of these actors or actresses or singers and songwriters or artists. I don't care who they are. If you sculpt something beautiful, I'm grateful, but I don't care who you are. It's like the president. I don't care who he is. Could be Trump. He could be Bump. He could be Rump. I don't care who he is. Just do your job effectively and efficiently so I don't have to worry about who you are. Right? I think they were trying to destroy him because he wouldn't play ball. Yeah, I see. That's what I mean. There's all of that speculation, but I don't know. I know the kid died, right? He died from drugs. His doctor. What about that? Didn't people get convicted of that, or wasn't there some big criminal proceeding against the people that surrounded him in his end days? I mean, you could. What was that? The reason all these rumors came out to hide what they'd been doing to the guy? I mean, you could definitely get into all kinds of different understandings or points of view, but none of them are verifiable. And I get burnt out trying to go down those roads because there's I don't know, man. When I walk to the refrigerator, like today, I just ordered like $300 in meat and a couple $100 in other stuff that should last me a couple of months. Because when I go to the refrigerator, I want there to be something in it. Okay? I don't want to talk about it. Right? I don't need to know the name of the fucking cow that these fucking things, or the name of the pig that I'm getting my fucking pork spare ribs or my pork chops from. Sure, that's okay that he was banging Marilyn Monroe up until the point that he became president. And if his banging Marilyn Monroe impacted his ability to do his job as a country, I think he should also be, I think they should be not just a good manager of the country, but I think they should have some decency and moral character. Right? That's my personal view. But that he didn't have the highest moral character, how did he do his job when it came to president? That would be, to me, that's my involvement with him, was he was my president. And how did like Joe Biden was my president, whether I liked him or not. I don't, now I do care if Joe Biden was getting bribes and Joe Biden was selling secrets and Joe Biden, I have a real issue. And if that's true and it can be proven, and it has been, it literally has been, then I think that man should be in prison. It's not going to happen. But I think more Americans, if tens of millions of us were screaming that, then there'd be action. If we wouldn't accept that as a group of people, and we have the tool called the internet to make it clear. Yeah, but that doesn't make it right that they had concubines. But that comes down to a moral choice. Look at it. Are those concubines connected to a foreign government? Was he putting himself in a place to be compromised? Was he putting us at risk? I mean, these guys are in charge of, at least nowadays, the nuclear codes. I don't want Trump running off to some hotel where there's nobody there with a briefcase and someone launched missiles at us and there's no way to get authorization. No. I mean, you see what I mean? It's not the morals of their action that I'm so much concerned with as, are their actions detrimental to me as a citizen? You are there for our benefit, not the other way around. So as Biden is an example, the espionage and the bullshit that him and his kid and his family were doing should be prosecutable crimes. And America should demand that, not because he's a Democrat, but because he truly is. He truly used his time in office to self-enrich at our expense. Okay? Stuff like that is important. But again, what do we do as a group of people on the internet? We know he did this. We know, folks, and if you don't know, the Department of Justice's investigation confirms this. They have evidence to prove that Biden and his family were involved in this stuff. They chose not to prosecute a sitting president, mainly and possibly because, most likely because they figured him mentally unfit, which is what they had said in this report. So, yeah, but Trump didn't do that. That's been actually factually proven not to have been true. 100%. All the accusations about Trump with Putin have been 100% confirmed to be untrue. That was propaganda being dumped to you, courtesy of Obama, Hillary, the Democrats, and corrupt Republicans. Because there's as many corrupt Republicans as there are corrupt Democrats. I'm not blind, but I researched that myself. It's not even that there's no video, right? It's not even that there's any video. Every single accusation made against Trump is verifiably untrue. And it was shown to be verifiably untrue. It was shown to be produced in the United States by people that worked for the Democratic National Convention Committee, the DNC, to be produced by one of their contractors, sent to Ukraine, and then fed back into a company that's connected to the media. The whole thing was a scam. It's proven. It's not me making it up or just thinking that. These are true things that I'm telling you. The people involved in that should also have been prosecuted. However, because of the propagandizing of the media, because of the dishonesty and the swamp that we're surrounded by from both parties, probably as many as a half of Americans don't know that was made up by the Democratic Party. Trump never, ever was in a Russia hotel sleeping. Ever. Never. Did he sleep in a bed that Obama was in? Never, ever. That's verifiably true. Never was Michael Cohen in Eastern Europe. Never, ever. Verifiably untrue. They found the owner of the person named Michael Cohen that happened to own the phone that was owned by a guy named Michael Cohen, who actually was an Israeli that was visiting Eastern Europe. It wasn't the Michael Cohen from the United States of America. But what is true about Michael Cohen is Michael Cohen was selling taxi medallions in New York City to Ukrainian mafia members. And by selling them those medallions, they were allowed to bring mafia members into America because they had a job. So there's a lot of things that are true, but they're not known to be talked about. His tax evasion by Michael Cohen was true. Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels and Avenatti. That story is false. Trump never touched that woman. That story was made up by a combination of Avenatti, Michael Cohen, and Stormy Daniels, who's admitted she's never had any contact with Donald Trump in any way sexual. And the whole case in New York is bullshit. She actually put out a written statement, notarized and signed. The idea that Trump tried to bribe her to keep her silent, also proven to be false. Trump didn't even know that document existed. As a matter of fact, during his presidency, he had a meeting with Michael Cohen, where Michael Cohen was suggesting that there was somebody out there going to make an egregious allegation against him. And he said that he could make it go away. He would just get an NDA and sign off on it. And Trump was like, well, let me give you the cash. He's like, no. Well, let me give you a check. And Cohen is in the tape saying, no, I'll take care of it. And then Cohen went and got his own money and used his own money from a second mortgage, supposedly to pay off Stormy Daniels, which she never got. She signed the NDA. Trump never did, because Trump never knew the NDA existed. Trump never knew that Stormy Daniels was part of the story until it broke in the news, because Avenatti and Cohen were trying to entrap Trump, which Avenatti went to jail for. He did the same game to Nike sneakers and got caught. Making a video for you. So there is so much stuff that's out there. That's what I mean. Whether it comes to Russiagate, whether Trump's first administration, I was the first one to attack Trump for putting Dr. Fauci and that other woman on there. I immediately attacked him for that. I also immediately attacked him on election night. I immediately attacked him because Donald Trump's DOJ had already shown that ballot harvesting and other crooked operations by Democrats had been done in the 2018 midterms. They're doing it again. They just did it for all the congressional seats from California. And nobody's doing it. And Trump should have held those people to account. He didn't. Trump should have held Hillary and her crew to account. He didn't. Maybe this time will be different. I certainly hope it is. Life wasn't much better prior to Obama. You had George Bush start the second war with Iraq. You had George Bush cause all that chaos in the Middle East. You had George Bush, all right, and Clinton when we got attacked on 9/11. No, it wasn't much better. These people have been criminal pieces of shit for as long as I've been alive. Reagan wasn't, but Reagan had been manipulated. They put that George Bush in there, the ex-CIA director, as his vice president. So even under the Reagan administration, a whole bunch of this shit was going on that shouldn't have been happening. We've been enduring this for a long time, but this is the first time in the history of the United States and the world that as a group, this information is available to you. And this information or these things that we want to fix are something we can actually verbally create a fix for. We could do that by voicing our displeasure and then by directing our economics, our purchasing power to make a point. Less arguments and division. I think we look back, and I think Paul Harvey, other people have said this before. We look back on the past with rosy-colored glasses. The things that have really changed. The most significant thing that's changed during going from Reagan forward. I paid attention from Reagan forward somewhat. I was young, very young, in Reagan's years. Okay, so I didn't pay a lot of attention, and I think I started paying a lot more attention to politics from Clinton forward, to be honest with you. I think they're going to do what they can to start a war, but I'm not so sure the opposition is going to feed into it. So I really don't suspect that Putin is going to feed into it. But I honestly think that if they did something drastic, I think he would limit his exchange to Eastern Europe. I think Putin would do similar to what we did to Japan. I don't think he would do a full military release of his weapons against us. He could. I'm just saying. From what I read, what I've read, what I understand, I think if NATO went full bore headed through Ukraine, I think he would drop the hammer on more than once if need be. So I think there's a threat of it, but I don't think the threat is as significant. I think we'll be fine. I'm hoping we'll be fine, but my observation says no. I'm sure they're going to start wars. Look what they just did in Syria. They just took out Assad. That was an ally of Russia. So, so there's the argument that they're going to create wars and cause chaos they are doing that currently, not just with Ukraine. They're doing it with Israel. They're doing it with Iran. They're doing it with the Houthis. They're doing it with Hamas. They're doing it with Hezbollah. Now they're doing it with Syria. They're doing it with Lebanon. There's a big press to start this war. However, I do suspect that those that are being targeted, or those that are involved in this chaos, realize that it can't be solved before Trump gets into office. Therefore, the Houthis quit fighting. Iran has backed off. Hezbollah and Hamas have backed off. And so now they started it up in Syria. So I think we have a better than even chance that Trump will get sworn in, and things will be the repairs will start. The polarization was, I don't know if that's true. People didn't want Bush. I remember people arguing and hating on George W. Bush. Big time. I mean, he won Florida by a hanging Chad, remember? Remember how Al Gore lost that first election? And the second time he won because we were at war. But that division's existed. This nonsense with the global warming and all that other shit that was going on back then. The division that caused, right? Obama was a bit smarter. He knew global warming on its own wasn't going to be the only argument to divide Americans, and all these other arguments started cropping up, especially when it comes to division by race, right? It's funny. It's funny as hell, man. That was so dumb. Yeah, everything. So I don't know. I'm a voracious ingester of information, and I try to sort it as best I can in my little pea brain and give my view of it. Well, I'm sure they all have some sort of an ulterior motive. I honestly think that Trump almost being killed may have tempered his ulterior motives, or at least, yeah, I don't suspect Trump is definitely not a one world order guy. Fuck no. Trump's all about borders, and he's all about stateship, and he's all about countries, nationhood. Trump is definitely not a one world order guy, not even close. He's talking about getting out of NATO. Talks about getting out of the United Nations. Those are organizations that are groups that have elected leaders, and those elected leaders then direct. Oh, the other people. Okay, I'm sorry, Heather. I misunderstood you. But you did say they have an ulterior motive. Yeah, I think a lot of the people that are in places of positions of power, for whatever reason, they find the big benefit is that they can draw down from us, which you've seen them do. We've been drawing down $37 trillion in debt. $37 trillion in debt. But I want to just make something clear. We owe that to ourselves. I laugh at people's panic of the debt. Imagine owning something that's worth $700 trillion, and you take out a loan for $37 trillion. That's pretty much what you're looking at. The money that we owe foreign countries isn't because they lent it to us. Like you go to a bank and get a loan. We don't go to some help desk in the Chinese consulate and fill out an application for China to lend us money. Let's be clear. That's not what's going on. The foreign debt that we owe is they're buying U.S. savings securities, U.S. bonds. They give us $1 trillion, and our bonds pay them an interest over a period of time. That they're telling you is a loan, and there is a resemblance to a loan in that, but they also have the risk that if we collapse, their loan won't be repaid, and there's no regress for them. Where a bank, they're going to have you hold a piece of property, they're going to have you hold a card or an automobile, right? They're going to have a collateral that they can come after. Where if we were to collapse, these countries that have invested in the United States would lose their money. There'd be no way to recover it. So it's almost like them investing in the stock market. That's the debt we owe foreign countries. There is no foreign country that came here and wrote us a check for $1 trillion, 8 trillion, 10. No. That money is created on a computer. And the reason the money is allocated is because the debt ratio to the value of the country. It's our own money being lent to us. We lend ourselves our own money. We are the world reserve of cash. And we've taken upon ourselves to loan ourselves our own money that we've yet to earn, in all fairness. However, I think there's a simple way to erase this debt. I'm not sure any leader is going to be, big ballsy enough to do it. Yeah. I agree with you, Carl. I grew up in a situation where I didn't know what racism was until I was confronted with it myself. And I'm a white guy. But anyway, it's a different story for a different day. But let's try to think, That's the title of the stream. Can we all try to think? Can we all try to mitigate the drama, the fucking the chaos, the outrage, and try to get other people on board with coming together? Start with something simple. Just start with something real simple. Go after user agreements, right? Or start with the Idaho 4. I mean, start writing opinion pieces, start something. I mean, the fact of the matter is we have the biggest hammer of all, and it's instant communications. It's our ability to communicate worldwide, nationwide, with each other. And if we could put that into you get someone like Tucker Carlson on board. That's what a movement needs, is somebody with a big outreach. And that's, look at 25 years ago, you couldn't have said that. But literally, there are people out there. There's Joe Rogan's out there, 100 million followers. There are people out there that have a reach. And there's just nobody addressing solutions, them included. They're caught up in all this drama and all this bullshit and all this outrage and all of. They're caught up in all of that just like we are. And that's the programming that we've been given from social media. And we could use that exact programming in a different way. And thereby change, and the outcomes would be completely different. These wars wouldn't be there. These wars would not exist. Right? Anyway, folks. Oh, I'm tired. Been in here a couple hours almost. And we got, we still got a bunch, 82 folk in here. You folks, call you folks. What do we got over at Twitter? I think that's the majority of them. 67 of them at Twitter. I appreciate just coming in. And I am going to call it a night. I'll be back again this week. When, I can't say for sure. I know I was for a while sticking to a 9 p.m. schedule, but yeah, I got too wrapped around, too many things going on online, and it just doesn't quite depress me. It disappoints me. I guess that's the best word. Disappoints. In the meantime, folks, I want to thank you for joining me. And remember, Your Ass Hurts News Network, live from the top of Cock Tower in Beijing, China. With Ligama Balls Convention Center. Don't forget to book your weddings. This is Sergeant Friday telling you good night. Have a good Tuesday.